tell all of you that my heart, I can feel it beating out in my chest. But it's nice to see my faces, and I know that you all want this to be successful as much as I do, so I'm good with that. I started working on this project on incivility because I remembered that the hardest thing about my time in nursing school was that I really was wanting to learn, and I felt that there was so much stuff going on that sometimes my learning was impeded by that. Sometimes there were people talking or coming in and out of class or just being rude to the instructor. Those kind of things really bothered me. And so I decided that I would make that my little pet that I would do for my project. I had no idea there was so much information on incivility, yet so little on incivility in nursing education. Cynthia Clark from Boise State University has also made this her baby, and she is focusing on incivility in nursing education because it is a little bit different in nursing than it is anywhere else. First, let's talk about, I sure hope I can do this. Great. There's a proverb that says, learning is a treasure that will follow its owner anywhere. So what constitutes great teaching? The result is great learning, right? Now let's think about what constitutes great learning, and here's where you get to get involved. Just make little groups for yourselves of 3 or 4 or 5 people, and you have a block of wood there and a Sharpie. And then you each have some balloons. Now don't write on your block of wood right now. We're going to write on these balloons. So try to fill them all up and write some things that you think constitute great learning. Things that make you know that learning has occurred. So there's a Sharpie there. You can each appoint a scribe and just write something on each balloon that shows that you know what you all think constitutes great learning. It should be there. I think
interactions. What did you write on there? Oh, that's the next down.
Almost finished? You one more?
Seeking knowledge. Well,
Very good. Let's go around the room and just talk about some of the things that we believe are the results of great teaching that tell us great learning has occurred. Susan, how about your group?
Okay, so we have an increase in confidence, and certainly we can see that in a clinical setting. Performance and self-investigate. When we see them teaching others or helping their classmates, like in study groups. Interaction with faculty, that's really in the classroom we have a Socratic lecture where they're really interacting with us. When they have those aha moments. And what's the other one here? It's the white one. Oh, it's the white one. Changing behaviors. Sure.
Very good. Okay, the next group, what did you guys come up with?
We came up with listening, just them paying attention and giving us feedback. So feedback was our second one. And it's accountability, them being accountable for their actions.
Very good.
And attentiveness, how much are they paying attention?
Very good. Very good. Back here, Dina? Okay. Sally?
We have, they're willing to be self-guided. They're willing to dig some things out for themselves. They ask questions. What does it say? They practice what they put what they learn into practice. They put it into practice, and they're interested in the topic. They're interested and they show interest.
Super. Okay. By a show of hands, how many of you would like to see these things be a result of your teaching? Sure, that's something we all want, right? Absolutely. But sometimes there are barriers to keep that from happening. Incivility inhibits everyone in the learning environment, including the instructor. Feldman, who did some work on incivility at Virginia Tech, said that any action that interferes with a harmonious and cooperative learning atmosphere in the classroom is considered incivility. So any kind of interference, we're going to call incivility. We used to call it bad behavior. Okay. Think back, if you can, to Little House on the Prairie days when you watched Laura and Paul, and the day Laura went to school with the new schoolmaster, and she came home with her hand red from being beaten with a ruler. And Paul went up to the school, and they had to talk about that. Now think of modern day and Ferris Bueller. Bueller. Okay? Things have changed from the time when the teacher ruled and everyone listened attentively to the time when the students have to be engaged and have to be brought into the learning experience. Okay? This incivility occurs in varying degrees. Category 1 are considered just annoyances, things that may bug us, but maybe they don't bother everybody. Things like coming in late, leaving early, answering a cell phone and running out in the hall real quick to talk on the phone, or just being generally inattentive, which could include playing solitaire on the computer while the teacher is teaching, turning your back and putting your feet up. That's one I read and I thought, wow, I've never seen that. But I guess that happens sometimes. Category 2 is called classroom terrorism. It includes talking out loud, monopolizing the discussions. Okay, so this can be the student who constantly already knows more than you do and is always raising their hand and telling what they have to think. Outbursts in the classroom where they say, I'm not doing this. Okay, things like that. And rude gestures. I have no idea what that means, but if we use our imaginations. Category 3 is intimidation. This is threatening people, saying, I'm going to have your job. You're going to see me in court. I'm going to go see the director, and we're going to talk about this. Or threatening other students. If you don't shut up, I'm going to make sure you have a bad clinical experience. Okay? These are the things that we're calling intimidation, and they're the category 3. And then the worst, of course, are category 4, including violence. These are physical threats to students or faculty with harm. Okay? When they say, I'm going to punch your lights out. I hope none of us have ever had that. Okay? Or maybe a threat of harm to our family members. Okay? I know where you live. It doesn't have to be overt, but just a threat. Okay? And of course, violence. We know that violence can be, of course, any physical act of harm that occurs in the classroom. Most of us probably have not seen it escalate to that level. Most of us deal with category 1, and a little category 2, and occasionally some category 3. Okay? The most commonly cited uncivil student behaviors, according to Cynthia Clark, and this is, of course, talking just about nursing education, are late arrival and early departure, holding distracting conversations, and making sarcastic remarks and gestures. By show of hands, how many have seen that? Any of those things? Right. Okay? But this is two-sided. Students aren't the only ones involved in uncivil behavior. Faculty has some responsibility too. Students listed these things as the most commonly cited uncivil faculty behaviors. Making condescending remarks, exertion of rank or superiority, rudeness, or unavailability outside of class. And when they ranked these behaviors on a Likert scale, the one that bothered them most was unavailability of the instructor. Now, in a clinical setting, that really speaks loudly. Because if we're not available to those students when they're having or ready to have an aha moment or ready to ask a question or ready to try to apply those things that we've seen in class, and we're not there and they don't know where to get to us, that constitutes the unavailability that they're talking about. And that can lead to some of these negative student behaviors that we talked about. Okay? So let's think